What you doing out in these streets, slave rule? What you doing out in these streets? What you doing out? What you doing out? What you doing out in these streets? What you doing out in these streets, slave rule? We in these streets. But yeah, you live and you learn. But
Exactly,
That
absolutely.
time I was obviously fresh to it and I didn't understand.
But like you said, you learn from your mistakes. So
Yeah. It was also such a rush to do that episode because we planned to do it that day and I was so busy that day and everything wasn't set up the way it is now. But yeah, I'll never make that mistake again. Never.
listen, yeah, I've shot with lens caps on as well and stuff like that, and I'm realizing, oh shit, but 2 shots later you miss the shot, and it's like, can we redo that? So yeah, it's been hectic.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay,
but you
so
see, it depends whether it's like, obviously weddings is like run and gun, so you like literally just you have to capture the moment. Other shots are almost like, it's not staged, but it's more scripted.
Okay.
Yeah, so those ones are easier. But yeah.
But do you look through the
viewfinder?
Is it the viewfinder?
Always through the viewfinder. I mean, look at the digital cameras or hybrid cameras has obviously both on screen and viewfinder as well. But for me, through the viewfinder is more sort of artistic. Like people will think it's more professional.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I guess it is more professional because I always see the pros using the viewfinder and the looking.
Look here. It's the same like comparing someone taking a photo with a phone, for example.
Yes.
You see them standing, take the phone, snap, done.
It's the same thing.
Whereas you sort of like put a little bit more professionalism into it. And if I look at another photographer and I see he's looking through the viewfinder, I'll say, okay, that guy kind of knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And some is like, fake it till you make it. That type of thing.
So can you like, okay, the autofocus, right? Do you use autofocus or do you use manual?
I use manual. Okay, so it's 50-50 on the focus, but everything else is manual.
Yeah.
I need to be in control of the result of the pictures. I need to be in control.
Okay, so you can't use the autofocus in viewfinder?
You can use it in any scenario. Any scenario. It's just that if you come from like sort of the old days where they used to shoot like manual SLRs,
oh yes.
Those guys, it's something that you can't really lose. Yeah, it's the same like driving, and you drive an automatic car for years, and if you have to drive a manual car, you are still able to drive it.
Yes, yeah. But like, how do you know it's not like, I would call it fuzzy looking, like if it's not like in focus, how do you?
That's trusting your gear, to be honest with you. I mean, you have kind of like fine focus as well in the optical viewfinder.
Yeah.
So even if that thing is out there and you do sort of like a autofocus, as long as the autofocus points are exactly where you need it to be, it's like 99% sort of like clear. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So you can't really go wrong with autofocus.
No.
Yeah. But it's just like, if you're doing a wedding, like I said, and you're doing things where it's fast paced and you can't really replicate the moment, autofocus is your best friend.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
Interesting. So we got right into it. I wanted to. I actually did ask you, but we weren't really recording the audio. Yeah. Your surname is Love, right?
Born and bred.
Is it? That's a really. It's a, I don't know, uncommon surname.
I mean, it's even uncommon to the point of where I forget my surname is Love. I think once you grow up with something, you sort of take it for granted. So years ago, my great-great-grandfather came to visit. He didn't know who he was. Told us how the Loves came to South Africa. It was like 2 brothers that came from Ireland.
Oh.
And they docked in a place called Ebenezer. He started off a church over there, got married. And obviously he was Caucasian, blue eyes, blonde hair, super tall. And he got married to a colored lady. Out of, I think they had about 10 sons.
Yeah.
9 of them Caucasian, blue eyes, blonde hair.
Really?
My great-grandfather was the only dark of complexion, long black hair.
No
way. From what I know is that I think he wore like a size 13 shoe. He's the only thing that kind of went in his old age was his hearing a bit, but his vision was still 20/20. So he actually told us how the Loves came to South Africa.
Wow.
And the other brother took a ship and went to America. That's why there's Loves in America as well.
Oh.
Yeah. And love actually comes from a word called lufa, which means wolf. And there's a story, I don't know whether it's true or not, but from the research that I've done, the reason why it comes from wolf is because there's a lot of loyalty where wolves are concerned. So I don't know if it's mythical
Loyalty to the
or,
pack,
yeah, you know, loyalty to the pack, that kind of thing. So, I mean, the history of it isn't as important to me, but kind of living up to the surname is more important. Yeah.
Well, you do love photography.
I love everything I do. I love everything I do. I think I'm super passionate with like everything that I do, whether it comes to family, hobbies, even interacting with people as well. I put my heart into it. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a good way to live by, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of people want to know this. I want to know this for real. Like, did you officially retire, or is that some story you try to tell people that you don't want to get that much work? Because I see you out there in these streets, you're taking photos every day, and you're posting them every day. So I want to know, really, did you retire, or is that some kind of ruse?
Okay, so let me put it this way. It's my father, who was a policeman, studied photography, studied watchmaking, studied mechanics. Ironically, I'm into all the same things as well, and I lost my father at the age of 6. So for me to continue that years after he's passed away, and I mean, I didn't even know him that well, and for me to have similar hobbies was kind of like, you know, it's kind of like a blessing and an honor to continue the legacy. I started wedding photography, right? And I love shooting people, interacting with people. I mean, the fact that I do IT or desktop support, I always have to interact with people. And I think it was something that was required in my work, which eventually became part of my hobby as well. And the more you do something, the stronger you become at it. I decided to do wedding photography. I was just into photography. I like capturing everything. So I think I bought a camera, point and shoot. Then
What was your first camera?
It was an, I just remember the other name was an optics, a Pentax optics.
Oh.
So it was like I earned a salary. I was like, I think it was my first paycheck or second paycheck. Bought a camera and I started taking photos. My father-in-law had a friend that sold his digital SLR. It's Canon 350D, which is a very old camera, but very reliable as well. And he gave it to me. It didn't have a charger and those things. So I obviously, like, you know, bought a generic charger and stuff like that. Started taking photos, and from the get-go, when I used the digital SLR, that was it. Once the bug bit, it was all over.
Really?
It was all over. It's almost as if a day couldn't go by where I didn't want to take a photo. Even if the photos made no sense, I had to take a photo. Eventually then I saved up some money, bought a Canon 550D, and started sort of like amateur wedding photography and taking photos of people. Again, the bug bit, and I did a workshop with a very well-known wedding photographer in Cape Town, Niels Engelbrecht.
Okay.
Basically my mentor, a guy I really, really looked up to, and he had a workshop. And I signed up for the workshop and I went for it even more. I mean, every time you think you sort of like hit the plateau or you hit the ceiling of where you can get to, you realize that that's just the tip of the iceberg. And
there's always another level.
There's always another level. I don't care who you are, what you're into, what your thinking is. We put ourselves in this box where we set the limits, but realizing that, or like afterwards, that it's way higher.
Absolutely.
Way higher. Then I started doing, I did the workshop, and eventually I started becoming a second shooter for him as well. I've learned so much from Niels, a lot. And he's a people's guy. He's very charismatic. He loves what he does. He eats, sleeps, breathes it. And being with someone that's like-minded, obviously I just fed off that as well.
Yes.
And eventually I sort of like, there was distance between us, obviously. You can learn so much from someone, right? But there comes a time when you sort of like have to step out of someone else's shadow and kind of become your own person.
Yes.
Otherwise you become a carbon copy of that person. And with all the skills that I've learned from him, I decided, let me venture into my own thing as well. I did it for quite a while. Absolutely loved it, but once it started becoming an obligation, I started feeling the strain of this expectancy that you are expected to produce a certain type of work. And the market also took a bit of a turn. And eventually I decided, I'm quitting. It took a lot for me. And to be honest with you, I've spent a lot of money on gear, a lot of money on education, educating myself as well. Being with like-minded people, learning from them as well. The problem is once expectation is so huge that it overthrows your passion, you get to a point of like, is this worthwhile doing as a sideline business? Eventually, I played around with the mindset of I'm going to give up this as a sideline business. It just became too much for me. Also losing a lot of time with the family as well. That also was another factor. And the first time I actually dabbled with the thought of, I'm going to give this up, it made my stomach turn. I literally and physically felt as if I'm getting sick, because that's all I knew. That's all I wanted to do was photography. I pictured myself doing that till I'm old and grey.
Wow.
And eventually it came to a point where I was like, enough is enough. It took another 6 months after that initial thought. And 6 months later, when I had the same mindset or the same thought of like, I'm going to give up photography, I didn't get that sinking feeling. And I was like, I'm doing it. And I'm, selling everything.
Shit. Wait,
Sold everything.
Wait, there's a lot I want to unpack there for a second. Sure, okay. When you go back and you say you felt obligated, like, what do you mean with that? You felt obligated? You felt like you had to do it instead of you wanted to? Or was it the criteria people set that pictures have to look a certain way because they gave you reference photos? Or what happened with the obligation feeling?
I think all of that, but more an obligation of... This is a tough one actually, but when you look at your peers, you start following people, you start comparing your work to others as well. When you, like I said, when you hit that ceiling, once you realize that you can go better, higher, and once I felt like I couldn't go further than the point I was at, it felt totally pointless.
Really?
Totally pointless. I did not want to sort of do carbon copy work. I did not want to replicate the work. Like if I do one wedding,
oh, it looks the same.
I'm all about personality, who you are, your individuality. If I don't capture your personality and who you are,
Your
and if I can't convey who you are to people and if things look staged and things like that, then I'd rather not do it.
Wow. Is this now more wedding photos or?
This is actually, it's kind of more wedding, because I was more into wedding photos than anything else.
Okay.
I tried getting into other types of photography, like product photography, but wedding photography it had that special something.
Yes, that special day. It's one of the best days of their lives, and you want to capture
100%
that
correct.
happiness, the whole atmosphere, the family, the love, I can imagine.
And you know what made it even more real for me is I've done so much weddings where you take photos of family members, grandparents, parents. I've had so many couples come to me and say, oh, do you still have these photos? And I keep my photos for long. I keep my photos for very long. There was no obligation for me to keep it, but I just like keeping them. And I've had so many couples come to me and say, oh, do you have this photo of this person or my grandparents or whatever? And after I find out the reason why they want it, it almost brings me to tears, because they lost their grandparents. Thinking of taking a photo of them with their family members at the happiest moment of their lives. For me, remember, it's kind of a job. Yes, it's joyful to get people to smile, to see people happy, but to know that my work holds so much value for those people at a later stage. It's cliche, we say it over and over, we freeze time. And there's a whole lot of other sayings, but it becomes so real once that picture becomes the main focus and like a pinnacle moment in someone's life.
Yeah, for sure.
It becomes super real. And that is when I said, I'm not only doing this for myself, but I'm doing this for other people as well.
And not too long ago, somebody sent me like an old photo. I was probably like 19. Some reason this old photo that I've never seen before, but they took it and they sent it to me. I think it was either beginning of this year or end of last year. And when I got this photo, I was like, whoa. And it immediately like took me through this whole journey, like how I was feeling that day and
Okay,
this and this and this and this I went through, and this is everybody there and the vibe that was, I was so crazy.
That's exactly the thing as well. I was telling my wife not too long ago, like, you know, you think up a memory or you look at a photo, everything that you thought you forgot, everything comes back to you as if it happened yesterday. That is the most magical thing about memories. And if, like, I'm like that with music.
Yes.
I'm obsessed with music.
Yeah.
I think I love music as much as I love photos or taking photos. And actually, we'll get to that point of where I'll speak about music influences my photography.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, big time.
Really?
Big time. So,
That's interesting.
and coming back to your question, the reason why I felt I had to sort of like step away is when I started, there were certain moments that I was looking for in weddings, like, you know, the special moments. And there was a lot of weddings where people just got married for the sake of getting married. It was just the thing. It was just the thing. I mean, with all due respect.
Did you pick that up, or did they tell you
It's
that?
known and picking up as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can pick up things as well. And each to their own. And I respect them for getting married. By all means, that is, you know, the right thing to do. And when you show less interest in that special day compared to me being there, and I'm like, I'm here to capture the special moment. I want to, you know, this is going to be a magical day.
Yes.
But when you go through the day as in like, let's get this thing done because we kind of have to. And when I started seeing that, like not in one weddings, but like in a few, I started feeling like, what am I actually chasing, you know? As much as I'm doing it for the client, I'm also doing it for myself. And yeah, like I said, there was a lot of things that added to me actually wanting to give up. The other thing I'm going to mention is, this is a big one.
Okay.
You get a person, I mean, I also had to start somewhere, but you get a person that buys a camera for 3,000, example. I spent almost like 120,000 on all my gear.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So you think you spend time educating yourself, you spend time accumulating all your gear, you will spend time, you know, taking time to get to know how your gear works so you can give the best product.
Yes.
Then you get a person that buys a 3,000 camera. I love wedding photography. You're basically competing with someone like that. They're going to charge 2,500. I say I'll charge 10,000, but I know why I'm charging 10,000. And at that point in time, at that point in time as well, all my peers or lots of my peers were charging way more than I was.
Easy.
So now you have to try and like fight for justifying your price.
Sure.
When your work is out there and people can see who you are and what you are.
And track record.
Yeah. But I think the society we live in at the moment is everybody wants to save. Everybody is looking for that discount. As much as you're trying to save, I'm trying to make a living as well.
And produce quality.
And produce quality. Main
Because
criteria.
your work is your calling card.
Yes.
I mean, you can always tell people, go check any of my photos, speak to any one of my clients.
It's your portfolio.
Exactly. And word of mouth is huge.
To be honest with you, being in the IT space, and I'm kind of very guilty for this, but not having a website, for example, I relied heavily on social media and word of mouth as well. So I would do weddings and people would, you know, say, oh my word, you were amazing, and they would just give a lot of praises and stuff like that. I stood back and realized, but you haven't even looked at one photo. Why would you say that? You know, if this is what I've been taken, like, you know, what I've been hired for, and you are really giving me praises for my wonderful work. But then I realized it's the personality you come with. It is the passion you show in what you do. It counts for a lot.
Absolutely.
And when people see the final product, they can sort of like put that feeling that they had that day with seeing me doing my work to seeing what I've produced and putting it together.
And I think what's very important also is that you're not missing when you need it. You're not like doing something else. You're not that okay, now I must go here. Like, you know, the attitude that you're
Yes.
excited. Okay, you must do this shot next. Guys, please line up here. Do this. So I think that's also a big deal. Like, you can tell when somebody's not there.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
100% correct.
So I think the more involvement you show about your job, they can pick that up and they can see like, okay, he wants to be here. He or she wants to capture
invested,
these
yeah.
moments. Yeah, he's invested.
Yeah.
He's here. He's not always on his phone playing Candy Crush or whatever. You know what I mean?
Correct.
That happens.
No,
That
and I mean,
happens.
I've seen it happen as well. And I mean, being a photographer, not only wedding photographer, you sort of like you at other events as the non-photographer, just as a guest.
Yes.
And you start like, you know, looking at other photographers, seeing how
Yeah.
they work and thinking to yourself, I would never do that. Or why would they do that?
Yeah.
I mean, each to their own. Everyone has their
Yes.
own way of doing things. But yeah, so that was me selling my gear, selling everything was me basically closing a chapter.
Shit.
Didn't last very long. I'm gonna be honest with you. I started taking photos with my phone, for example, but the difference in this was I started falling in love with landscapes, and it was more peaceful. It was tranquil. It was me, nature,
There's no
taking my
people.
time, composing my shot, trying to find exactly what I'm trying to convey or looking to capture what I want to convey. That's the thing. I mean, anyone can take a camera, hold it up to a scene and take the photo and share it. But for me, it's like I see the picture way before it's even taken. And that is what I'm trying to achieve. Not just take the photo and share it.
Yes.
So I do it from different angles and take like, you know, different shots as well. I try to get to know the environment. We'll get to that part. That is hectic. But yeah, so that is my journey. And battling with pricing, and it became a big thing. It became a massive thing, yeah. And I decided, like, you know, and to be honest with you, I'm missing it. I'm not going to lie. I do miss it. But at this point, it's almost like I've reinvented my mindset. And I know specifically where I'm headed, what I want. And when you start doing weddings and other things, you're doing it because you have to do it. Like, you know, you set a target for yourself and you just go. And you start living up to the expectations of others.
Yes.
And your expectations become theirs.
Oh.
And vice versa as well. So it's an emotional roller coaster. That's the best way I can put it.
Is it?
Yeah.
When you decided that's it, that's enough, I'm quitting, how long did it take you to actually get to the point where you're gonna sell all your equipment?
Took about 6 months.
Really? That quick?
Took about 6 months. I tried to get rid of it. What I was fearful of is that passion and that love for photography would come back, and I would go against the decision that I made.
Oh wow.
So, but also think of it like this. I thought of it in many other aspects as well. Gear does eventually also get old. Newer gear comes out.
Yes.
I stuck with what I knew. It was very professional things that I had, and I could probably continue with it. But at the same time, you also have to move on with the times as well. The camera that I actually bought myself now is a Fuji X100V.
Okay, so there's new equipment.
There's new equipment, but this equipment was bought purely for my own satisfaction. It's a fixed focal length. It's 23mm. It's one camera body. I was that guy that there's something called GAS. It's an acronym. I can't get to it now, but it's the whole philosophy around it is I need more gear. You will justify why you need more gear. I can see a lens that I don't need at all, but I'll find a reason why I need to have it. And I built my collection up so much. After I took a photo of all my gear, I was blown away.
Really?
Totally blown away. And me selling everything and buying this little camera that was good enough to do what I needed it to do. Once I bought that camera, I was happy with it. There was no need to change lenses, to acquire other equipment to make it even better. What you saw was what you got.
Wow.
And having that showed me that everything that I've had prior to what I currently had was almost unnecessary.
Wow.
Yeah. It's amazing how forcing yourself into a situation can make you look at things differently.
Wow.
Yeah. So doing landscapes, and you get to learn about light. You get to learn about the sunrise, the moonrise, how it sets, the different times of the day. So it's like, you know, when I said you hit that plateau and you hit the ceiling and you feel as if you can't learn anymore. Now I kind of forced myself to go into doing photography that I never thought I'd ever do and I wasn't really interested in.
Really?
And that allowed me to actually learn a different side of photography. Now I'm obsessed with light and how light works.
Okay, because you said you were focused more on wedding photography, right?
Yeah.
And obviously there's a lot of other things you did as well, but mainly people based.
Yeah.
So you've never thought about nature and doing things where you don't require people, just taking shots, just
At the
just
time,
for
no.
fun, or
No, definitely not. At the time, it was not a thing for me. If I did, it was on my cell phone.
no? So it wasn't a passion of yours, or
No, if I saw something, if I saw a sunset,
yeah.
I saw a sunset, I took it, and it was like, yeah, it's a sunset. Now it's like if I see a sunset, I will do whatever it takes for it to get to a specific point where it lights up the sky with different colors.
Yes.
Now I'm absolutely crazy about that. And what I've learned is that, you know that thing that I said, you put yourself in a box and you limit yourself? What I've also realized with my journey in photography, with going from wedding photography to like portraiture to now landscapes, combining all of those things together makes you an individual and you learn different things. Individuality is a huge thing in photography.
Absolutely. So I think it's a huge deal in everything you do.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of people, like, and this is no disrespect to anybody out there who's doing this, but it's a lot of people who have like Facebook pages or Instagram pages, and they only post this one thing. Like, let's say it's fitness.
Yeah.
They only post like, I don't know. Let's say you're doing weightlifting and you're just doing this, and that's great and all. But I think people also want to get to know the person you are behind that.
100%
People want to
correct.
know the individual, the personality, the character behind that. I'm not talking about like you're talking about politics or religious,
Yeah.
but just the person that you are. You don't have to share personal stuff necessarily, but just other things that you do also.
A
I
holistic
think,
person,
yeah,
yeah.
just to get to know that, because for me it feels like you're just becoming that product. You're not, people don't see you as a person then. You just become this product, this fitness machine, or this person is doing this one thing, but people don't get to see the
So
other
much
side
more
of you.
aspects of you
Yeah.
to that individual. And I think that was a big thing for me as well. Looking at a lot of my peers at the time, I started comparing my work to theirs, and yet people would always tell me, oh my word, I love your work and stuff like that, and I just felt I wasn't good enough. The minute you see their work, and this is a major thing, and I think you touched on it a slight bit, but this whole thing with social media, I'm telling you, I looked at my photos, for example, it has like maybe 50 likes. I look at the next person's photos. Okay, I'm not going to judge, but each to their own. But sometimes I think to myself, my work is fairly good. I mean, and to a degree, it's sometimes better than what I see. But then I see 1,000 likes or 1,500 likes, and I'm like, where am I going wrong? You start sort of, you start believing the noise out there compared to you actually knowing who you are and what you're about. And the minute you start going with the stream, you lose yourself. Totally. And confiding to social media and the rest of the world can totally destroy your passion.
Okay, for sure.
And although you know it at times as well, constantly looking at social media. And the difficulty is being a producer of work, of art. Social media is a platform for you to share your work. So it's not as if you can escape, looking at someone else's work. And how social media works with algorithms. It's going to show you things that you are into.
Yes.
So as much as you try and escape it, it's in your face.
Yeah.
So it takes a very resilient person to actually look at their work and say, I'm happy with what I put out there and I don't give two hoots about the next person.
Yes.
You can admire them for what they do, but if you don't see yourself as an individual, how do you expect other people to see you as one?
You know what they say, comparison is a thief of joy.
Yes.
So if you constantly compare your life or accomplishments or people's, I don't know, likes or pages or whatever, I think it's gonna steal some of that joy and that passion that you have for what you do, because you're gonna be like, you know what, this person's work isn't even half as good as mine, and yet they're getting more attention, they're getting more traction on their posts,
True.
and then you're like, fuck, why do I even bother, you know?
And that, to be honest with you, that feeling has come over me quite a few times.
Really?
Quite a few times. I don't think people actually realize that at the end of the day, you're just human as well. This whole feeling of, am I good enough? And you know, it's almost as if nothing that people say to you is going to make you feel any better, because I think it's a personal thing. I think it's something that you as a person have to overcome on your own. People will, you know, I get people that say, oh my word, I love your work. And if you don't do anything, when are you doing photos? But now you look at yourself and you say to yourself, you're on my social media. I don't see you liking my photos and stuff, but now all of a sudden, oh my word, I can't stop looking at your work. Your work is amazing. Then I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. You know, I live by the saying that most truths are said in jest. So, you know, like people will make fun and stuff like that, but there's a lot of truth in it. And once people start comparing and stuff like that as well, because it's a tough game out there.
Yeah.
And especially when you meet with peers as well. I mean, it's a very competitive thing, and things are said in jest, but it's actually a shot at you as well.
Oh yeah.
I think
all the fucking time, bro.
in everything you do. I mean, I'm into Rottweilers. I do Rottweiler competitions as well. So haven't done it for a while. Want to get back into it again. But the guys are friends.
Yeah.
Then eventually, when they're in the ring, it is the most competitive thing ever.
Really?
Yeah. They will say things that you would least expect them to say.
Wow.
Because once you throw the trainer off, the dog sees it and it throws your whole game off, which means it elevates them. And I think that's how it is in life in general. I mean, in your work situation, I think with everything, that's exactly how it is.
I see that in every level I climb. Like, if it's not, you don't hear congratulations, you get like a shot at you, like you said, in jest, like they try to make this harmless sort of joke, but it's actually a shot.
It is.
And I've learned to recognize that even more now, recognize the shot more now. And then I put those people in a special place. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I kind of know how you feel about me if you can say stuff like that.
But at the same time, I think it's also kind of admirable to I think if that's the right word to use. Like, I mean, I've started looking at it in a different light. I'm actually a threat to you then.
Exactly.
You know, and instead of feeling sorry for myself, it's actually to say like, I must be doing something right then. And it takes a very long time for someone to actually get there. I think like yesterday, I took a photo of like, you know, the clouds coming over, and I knew it was supposed to rain yesterday, and it didn't, and it happened quite late as well. And then I took this photo and actually titled it The Calm Before the Storm. And it's amazing how relevant it is in our lives. And a friend of mine on Facebook actually commented on it and made an illustration of what he's currently going through. But then I sat back and I thought to myself, oh my goodness, you know, we actually all go through something like that.
Yeah.
And it's only once you overcome the storm that you become stronger, that you become wiser.
Oh yeah.
And again, it's cliche, but they always say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
That's 100% true.
And I think we throw those words around too easily. And it only starts becoming real once you actually end up on the other side.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, and there's the other thing they also say, it's like the person who goes into the storm doesn't come out the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man. Like, I welcome all those storms, you know.
Yeah.
This is why like people would think I'm crazy for going up the mountain when it's storming, when there's nobody there and there's storm alerts and people...
The safety factor.
Yeah, and people's always like,
risk.
did you actually go up the mountain? And it was so crazy. I was like, yeah, there's a reason I do that.
Yeah.
There's a reason. Because it changes you, man.
Yeah,
Changes
you know, on that topic, and this is something I actually wanted to get to, it's people see the photos that I take, right? And especially now with I think the passion that I have with taking landscapes and those things, it's so much deeper than anything I've done previously.
Really?
It's much deeper, and I'll tell you why. When you take photos, wedding photos, the biggest fear is dealing with people. You don't know people. You might know the couple because you've met with them a few times. So there's this fear factor of, oh my word, I'm going to be surrounded by a whole lot of people that I don't know. At the same time, you have to be the psychologist, this person that has to deal with different personalities. I can walk up to a couple, or do a wedding, for example. I'm being judged by eyes all around me. I don't know who's into photography. And I mean, I do that. So there's this fear factor of, once I overcome this fear, the next wedding you do becomes easy and much, much easier. So this whole fear factor, and with you saying that you're climbing mountains late at night and stuff like that, when I started doing not wedding photography, landscape photography, I started enjoying reflections and different shapes and the way the light shines. One day, not too far from where I stay, very close, went to the beach, went to go take photos, and I knew there's this little pond, and very close to the beach. And as I ran, to go take the reflection of the way the sun hits off the water, I thought to myself, I have to get this. And with sunsets, there's literally 15 minutes to 5, if not less, that you get that magical moment. So I knew I had to get it. And as I rushed to go stand at the edge of the water, I was running and I had my camera in my hand, new camera at the time, which is the one I currently have. And as I ran, I didn't know, but what looked like sand was actually liquid with a layer of sand over it. It literally, as I ran and I walked forward or ran forward, it ended up over here.
What?
Yeah. This is me standing with my camera and realizing, oh shit, now I'm in deep water, literally. Literally. So you learn so much. And like you said, I mean, although I got the picture, the people don't see the risk that you actually have to go through to get what you want and to share what they appreciate. And I hope they appreciate. People need to start appreciating other people's work a bit more.
They just see the final product.
They see the final product.
The work that we
100% correct. I mean, at the same location almost, I was taking sunsets as well. I saw the seagulls in the sky. I was like, oh my word, that's absolutely amazing. And just over the hill was another part of the sunset. Brave me decided to run across the road, and I ran up the hill to go take the photos, not realizing I'm running into the location where the birds actually lay their eggs.
Holy
And from me seeing a few birds, I realized, shit, now I'm in deep water again because I'm surrounded by birds, and they became so territorial that they started attacking me.
Of course.
And this is me with my camera in my hand with a one tripod trying to chase birds away.
Holy
still
shit.
being determined enough to take the shot because
Really? So you didn't leave?
I was determined. I've become this person that if I see something in my mind's eye, I know what I want. I'm going to get it. That's the other thing that makes you resilient. It's kind of silly in some people's eyes. I'll say stupid to a degree. Why would you put yourself through that to get something that you can always do again? Or for me, it's all about the moment. I live for the moment. If you don't have that in you, if you don't have that passion in you, then rather don't do it.
Don't do it, yeah.
And at the same time, when I went through that, you actually learn about your surroundings. You learn about, I didn't know how territorial seagulls were. Really, and now I know. So the next time it happens again, I'll be wiser to it as well. I'll understand them better. I'll maybe put myself in a position where I'm more welcoming, that I don't overstep my boundaries. So yeah, I've been through a lot with taking photos. Yesterday, I went to the beach, took a photo. Stunning sunset, by the way. And as I was kneeling down, I'm focused on taking the photo, not realizing that a rogue wave came and literally beached all over me. And again, camera up in the sky. This is my tool. I need it for tomorrow. And it's like realizing your mind has to be everywhere. You have to be very agile, physically, mentally. You need to prepare yourself for any and everything.
Wow, that's crazy. Because you wouldn't focus on the water.
No, because remember, I mean, 3, 4, 5 waves, it comes to a certain point, and at the time that I want to get that magical moment, it's like this massive wave came over, and you see videos of this on social media and stuff, and you never think it's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
So get to know your environment, get to know the people you deal with, get to know, it's a never-ending journey of learning. And the minute you stop learning, take a step back, because that's what I did.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels unfair, because you've got this passion, but you don't want to, pursue it because there's other factors. But you feel obligated, you have to stick to it. There's no obligation. I think we are limiting ourselves not only with moving forward, but stepping back as well.
Yes.
We feel that stepping back is a crime.
So true. People don't get this. Like, there's a lot. If you just constantly keep on this rat chase, you're in this mouse wheel the whole time, and you keep going. When you actually take a moment to just learn new things and experience other things, like I always tell people, this is like for me an example. Like I normally always just take a step back from, like, for example, making music.
Yeah.
Like, I don't write every day. I don't, because I always felt when I wrote every day and I wrote all these songs in X amount of time, and I always felt like I wasn't growing.
Yeah.
I was writing about technically the same shit
same thing,
over
exactly,
and over.
yeah.
So what worked for me was like I took this break. It's a forced break because I had this writer's block. I went through the spell of depression. And I realized like the first song I wrote, it was my best song ever.
Wow.
And it was like all that time away. And that's when I realized, you know what? Let me experience life. Let me live.
100%
And when I
correct.
need to write, I'll write. And I'll take all those things that I've learned along the way, the music that I listen to, my life experiences, connections I've made, friendships, and I'll put all of that into my new music. And it's worked for me so well.
And like you said again, it's showing a different side to you. That's the thing. And again, you're not only doing it for yourself, but I know you said you hit like writer's block as well. I've come to the realization that if you don't stop when you feel you should stop, something's going to force you to stop.
Yes, that's so true.
I've learned that, and it might not be the same journey for everybody. But like you said, sitting, taking a break, learning new things. I mean, look here, we're creative beings. And like I said, the one thing that eats on me quite a lot is doing the same thing over and over. If I had to take the same photo, if I had to do the same wedding shots over and over, then it's just me doing what I have to, getting paid, move on. It wasn't about that. That wasn't what started me off in my journey and in my passion. If I don't feel emotionally attached to what I'm doing, again, walk away. It's as difficult as it is, and people hate the truth. I hated the truth. If people told me things that I didn't like hearing, it would put me off to a point where, I said, this is the end, I'm never doing it again. But then you sit back again, you take some time and you realize, screw what they said. And this is what I want to do, it's what I'm about, and you're doing it for yourself. So
a lot of the time, those negative or hateful comments you get, it's not nothing about you. It's about that person.
Yeah.
You don't know what that person's going through. Maybe they had a cut day, they're going through some shit, or their wife or their partner or whatever the case may be was nagging on them, and now he sees you an easy target, and he takes this unfounded angle at you and just starts talking shit. And then this person doesn't even know anything about what you do, anything about you, and he just makes this comment, and we shouldn't let that affect us, man.
I mean, we're emotional beings, to be honest with you, and especially when not only you get targeted, but your passion gets targeted, I think it becomes more personal. Because I think we all realize that, people tend to act on the easiest target. And especially like with me, being in a situation where you being paid to render a service, and you have to sort of like go against like your own values to a point of like, if someone is disrespectful or truths are said in jest, right? It might be offensive, but it's said in jest, so it's almost like you're like, is that serious? Is it a joke? But to a point where you really know, like listen, this person's coming at you. You can't just, blow your gasket, put the person on their place. You have to be professional about it as well. And I think that's a very difficult thing, but the more you do it, the more you hone your skills with all things. So
yeah, man. You need to learn how to respond in a diplomatic way, so to
it's
say.
difficult at times, I'm not gonna lie.
It's hard. Like, I think the worst thing you can do is reply immediately.
Yeah.
You don't reply in anger.
That
or,
is-
or even if it
Yeah.
doesn't, most of the time doesn't even need the response.
That I've learnt, but afterwards you think to yourself, you think of all the answers and the responses you
yeah.
could have given.
Yeah.
And sometimes you are like, I'm this type of person. If I go through something and something happens to me and I say, if it happens again, I'm going to say this. When it happens again, I don't say anything.
Yeah.
It's like, and I get upset with myself, but it's literally saving the peace. And I think a lot of it has got to do with also how you were raised and like your values, and also just taking a split second and thinking about what the outcome could be if you were to blow your gasket.
Yeah.
Because then that's your reputation you're putting on the line
Yes.
as well, which is difficult.
You see, I think they also want to get the reaction out of you. So
Yeah.
and once you get that reaction out of you, they win.
True.
They win. So I don't like playing into their games. And one thing now with the smartphones is they bait you into this conversation.
Yes.
Screenshot.
Yeah.
Post.
Oh yes.
So I'm very careful now. I look at something and I was like, it doesn't validate my reply, and I just let it go.
But that's a skill. It's sad that it has to be a skill, because that should actually be part of who we are.
Yeah.
But like I said, society and this whole thing of following the stream is that people forget who they are, what they're about, their values. They forget about becoming a better person. So what they do is, because other people are doing it and other people are baiting other people, and this is how they handle a difficult situation, it becomes the norm, which is so wrong.
Yeah, man. Yeah, look, nobody's perfect.
True.
We all have bad moments, It's hard to forgive. It's hard to forget.
Yeah.
But I mean, we shouldn't hold on to anger. I think it's just, if we hold on to that anger and to that toxicness that the other person has placed on us, be it by what they said or how they behave towards you, I think we are the ones that suffer.
Yeah.
It's not the other person, because they might have just said something in that moment, then they forget, they move on.
They move on, but we're the ones
we
that
hold on to this, and I can't believe what they said.
and it festers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's unhealthy. So like I don't know. For me, if I didn't train, if I didn't go to the gym or go up mountains, I would probably be a psycho by now with all this shit.
But that's the thing as well. You need to find something that takes you away from what you do. As much as we want to, learn and indulge in what we do, and that is all we about, you need to take a break. And like I said, even at stepping back, it might not be a very long break, but even taking little breaks in between is so important.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. But yeah, so you got one camera now.
Yes.
Okay. It looks like the bug has come back. Are you going to get to the point sometime in the near future or distant future that you're going to start taking on actual work from clients? And will you ever go back to wedding photography?
I'm going to be very honest with you. Wedding photography, probably not.
Never, ever.
Maybe on a need basis. I won't say need, but it's a skill that I can't lose.
Okay.
So if I really have to do it,
What if it's a family member that really wants and says, you're the only one who can capture my essence, my moments, my happiness?
I'd be too obligated to do it. so that's honest. I mean, I will probably end up doing it.
Okay.
With you asking whether I'll get back into it again, I'm not gonna lie. As much as I feel the relief of pacing myself and enjoying what I'm doing now, I do miss that hype as well, and I do miss that dealing with people. I also feel I'm at this point now where I'm not a pro at what I do. I still consider myself an amateur, very much an amateur.
Really?
Very much. I don't think I can ever see myself as someone to be reckoned with in what I do. Because the thing is, I've learned that you never stop learning.
Okay.
And as much as I've picked up certain skills, there's always another side to it. Always. You learn from other people. Like you said, you learn different skills. The minute you see yourself as a professional, semi-professional, whichever title you want to give it, you are again putting yourself to a standard where you're going to have to jump to the next one. For me, it's doing it out of the enjoyment. If other people want to give you a title, by all means, go ahead and do that. By all means. But me, myself, no. I don't ever want to see myself in that space.
Okay, but there are, so to say, professionals and experts who feel that they are, but they also know that they keep learning all the time as well.
True, and I mean, I hope I get to that point, or maybe I get to that point, I don't know.
Maybe you are, and you just refuse to take on the stake because you feel that you're too humble about the approach, and you. I know humility is a good thing, but if you are that person, you need to recognize it in some way, so that you can become the next better version or the next version of yourself.
Yes, true, and I think it still has a lot to do with me dealing with what happened in the past, in the sense of never feeling like I'm good enough,
Oh, wow.
or feeling like I'm not good enough, and still to a degree still competing. I mean, I'm still in a better space, but I think I'm very competitive as well. And the worst person to be competitive with is yourself, because you'll never satisfy yourself. So if I do get to that point, let's just say maybe I give myself till the age of 50. If I'm 50 and I want to take on a different title, so be it. But there's a lot of people that look up to me. I would think so. Oh, this is what I get from them. For me, it's just sharing what I love doing. If it sparks off an emotional chord in you, if it evokes a feeling in you, then I'm doing what I want to do. I don't care whether it's taking photos of people, taking photos of landscapes, flowers, whatever it is, of dust, I don't care. As long as it evokes that emotional feeling and it brings back, that like we spoke about, that memory. And it brings you back to, thinking about a specific song, a time, a smell, the weather. The minute it can evoke those things, that is what I'm after. So titles doesn't really mean much to me.
Yeah. Your work speaks for
The
itself.
work speaks for itself, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I've seen a lot of photographers out there who do weddings or whatever shots, and I can obviously see the difference. And for you not to call yourself a pro it's like, okay.
And and what I've also learned now, for example, is I shot Canon and I swore by Canon. And then, yes, I'm a Leica boy. It's the Leica brand. I'm a bit of a Leica fanboy. I like this whole thing, the whole art of looking through a viewfinder and having it's called a rangefinder. So it's a little camera, it's with a little lens, it's very minimalist. And I think after carrying so much gear at weddings, tripods, lighting systems, 2 to 3 cameras with 3 lenses, it's tiring. Getting to the point where I'm able to carry one little camera in my bag and a little tripod, you're able to produce things that you never thought you'd ever produce.
Wow.
And you ask yourself, is the things that I currently have really needed for me to produce the work that I want to? So there's a lot of things, and as much as you have to deal with emotional things, you have to deal with things in your head as well.
Yeah.
Cost of living is expensive. I started prioritizing life, the important things in life more than my wants and my needs, because I've been very impulsive.
Yes.
I am a very impulsive person. And once you get to know people in the industry, where you can get things a little bit cheaper and stuff like that, you justify, okay, I won't spend this money on that, I'll spend it on this. Example, when I bought my first pro camera, I used my salary, not even thinking about my house that must be paid. Risk.
Holy shit.
It's the risk-reward factor. Guess what? I still made it through.
Yeah.
I still...
But what did your wife say?
No, of course she wasn't happy. in my mind, I'm like, no, but I thought that this would work out, and I justified things. But if you can come to a point where you can rectify your wrongs, then it's a lesson learned.
Okay.
I think for me, that's another big factor. Learning lessons.
Okay.
And being able to step back and actually say, next time I won't do it this way, I'll do it that way.
Okay. I feel there's a lot of people who heard that and probably want to know, how much does this camera cost and what type of camera was it?
It was a Canon 5D Mark III. I think I paid about 20,000 for it, which is a little. I can't remember which way it was. It was either 30,000 and the lens was 20. So all in all, just the lens and the camera was about 55,000. That's second hand.
Holy shit!
That's second hand.
Yeah.
The lighting system, I shot Pro Photo just for a little light with a battery pack. That at the time cost about, like, I think it might be 36.
What? Wait. I wish your wife was here. Like, what was her reaction the moment you told her?
Listen, I think once she saw my passion, she sort of put a trust in me that, okay, I am fully in this with you. Maybe with a few reservations, but like I said, if your passion is that strong that it becomes a sideline business and you can actually say, I'm actually making more than what I've given out and I've actually paid for, what I wanted, then it's a worthwhile risk. Again, it's a risk-reward factor. That's the biggest thing in life.
Okay. She just didn't let you sleep somewhere else for the next...
She maybe thought of it, yeah. But obviously, you have to be supportive. And that's what I would have expected from myself where she's concerned, with her passions and stuff as well. Is you need to complement each other and you need to compromise as well. Obviously, realistically. But it's a big thing. It's not all about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have kids and you've got a family and a wife and you can't just think about
100% correct.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
but it's again lessons learned.
So, like, did you have an apprentice working with you or trying to learn from you, saying, "Please teach me, Mr. Love. I love your photography"?
I think I've had a lot of friends or peers that maybe started after me. That was in that space of, oh my word, I love what you do. And I could never see that, to be honest with you. I could never see myself as a teacher. I could never see myself as someone being able to... I was an autopilot. Like, if I take photos, it's like you become this whole other person. It's like a superhero, for example. It's a very different person. You pick up your tool, you know exactly what is needed to get that shot. For me to explain to someone, it's a little bit difficult. I think it's more that the person has to see what I'm doing. And I've had people that I've shot with, but I've never gone into that teaching space. And seeing that we're on the topic, I actually have a friend that has a non-profit organization, and he actually reached out to me to start teaching children.
No.
Something that I agreed on. We haven't really sort of like, I haven't taken the next step to actually do it, but it is something I definitely want to do. And I think at the end of the day, this whole journey with learning everything, what's the point of learning everything if you can't share it? I've always had this thing of...
So true.
I've always had this thing of like, what if people learn from me and they start doing what I do? Being the person that is so critical on my own work, I wouldn't want a person that is in my circle to become a threat to me. Like, it's a whole mind battlefield.
Wow, yeah.
And at the end of the day, I realized that no matter what I show, or you can have the same gear, you can have the same camera, I can teach you everything I know. Guess what? Your work is still not going to be mine.
Exactly.
And it took me a long time to actually realize that. So I think I'm at that point now where I'm wanting to not only teach but share. I'll see it more as share than teach. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm sure your work inspires a lot of people out there.
I would hope so.
Yeah. Not only people who do photography, but just somebody who's trying to break through in whatever field they are, and they see the consistency of yours because you post often, not only about landscaping nowadays, but also your dogs, your pets, your Rottweilers, beautiful dogs by the way.
No, thank you.
And I'm sure they can see, okay, fine, this person, he's applying himself, he might be retired, but he's still he's still out here, he's still taking photos, he's still passionate about what he does. So I'm sure there's people out there looking up to you.
No, and I appreciate if there are. And I mean, even for you giving this platform to discuss this as well, it makes me realize a lot of things that I took for granted. And you don't actually realize the responsibility you have with following your own passion and other people attaching themselves to that as well. I've actually had a very good friend of mine as well, actually within the dog community. She would comment on my photos quite often, and this is when I started getting into landscape photography. And she made a comment where she said that the photos that I took actually put her in this space of realizing something about herself. And I thought to myself, this is just me doing what I love, taking a photo and sharing it. But at the same time, like I said, if it doesn't evoke an emotion, then I'd rather not do it. But that's again doing it for someone else.
Yeah.
But at the same time that I'm doing it now for other people as well, I'm kind of doing it for myself as well. The photos I share is not just because it's a nice photo, it's because it actually,
Means something to
it
you.
brings up something inside of me.
Yeah.
Sometimes explainable, other times not. So the same with your music, for example. When you carry a story across in lyrics and music, it's a personal journey that you go through, and you hope that someone that's going through something similar can identify with it. The fact that you're able to put out your art out there, it's actually to show someone that I've overcome what I've struggled with, and actually that I'm moving on and I'm learning and I'm willing to share. I think it's a very difficult thing. You become very vulnerable when you start putting your work out there.
Yeah, very.
Like super vulnerable, and you're actually putting yourself out there on a platform to be judged. Although that's not what you want. It's counterintuitive. It's like, I don't want to be judged. I don't want to be put in this negative space. But you also want to share your work. And I think it goes part and parcel.
Yes.
You can't separate the two. And I think that is what makes us better people. Even if you are not an artist, you don't produce your work, I think everybody has this creativity or this creative side to them. And it's all about sharing. I've seen people sharing the weirdest of things. And to me, it makes no sense.
But
And
to them,
I question, but guess what? There's someone out there that can identify with what they're putting out. There's some people that see the value in what people are sharing. I've also learned this. This is actually a big one for me. I've actually learned that when I started photography, I thought my work needs to be pleasing for everybody. The first time I got negative feedback on my work, World War III in my heart and in my mind.
Really?
Oh my word, it broke me down to a point of getting emotional, wanting to shed a tear.
Wow.
Because remember, I'm putting my heart and soul into this, and for someone to say something negative, that was my first experience with someone being critical, harsh, and kind of just blunt and rude, to be honest with you. But guess what happened? The minute I overcame that and I was able to put it aside, I felt stronger, and I actually got to the point of saying, yeah, bring on the negativity, it's fine. You deal with it, you get emotional, you move on. That is what we have to learn in the fields that we're in.
Yeah, I was fortunate and unfortunate that I started sharing my work before there was social media, with like friends and whoever, and then I'd get the negative
From them. Yeah.
So when it came down to social media, I was like, oh, this is shit. I don't even know this person. You know what I mean? Like, and then also learn to not check the comments always. Just avoid
It's difficult because, like I said, I mean, it's if you're sharing something, it's on your platform. It's something you can't really unsee.
Yeah.
If you know where it's heading, then it takes a lot for someone to just say, I'm not going to entertain it further, I'm not going to read it further, I know where this is heading, and rather remove.
Yeah.
Or don't respond. I see it a lot with following certain people on YouTube, on Instagram. They get it as well. And like I said, if you put yourself out there with your positive work, you have to expect negativity as well. So it's part, like I said, part and parcel.
Yeah, it's like people always I've got this one friend especially, like, cause like I'll work on stuff very quietly, only until it's done and it's out, and then people's like, oh, I didn't even know you did this, like, why didn't you tell me? And I always tell people, it's like, if you start a new career or let's say you doing IT and you decide, no, you know what, I want to be an accountant. So you go and you register yourself at an institution and you start studying, and the only people who might know is maybe your wife if you're married, or your partner,
Correct.
and your kids. But you
Yeah.
don't tell anybody outside the circle. You can do it
100%.
quietly, right? People in the share their work or rely on the public eye or the public for their feedback or for their support. And everything is public. So everything you do, if you change your, let's say you go, like in my case, you go from music to acting,
Yeah.
everything's in the public eye. So even if it's like your first thing that you did and people don't understand, you're still new at this, people will gun you down and like to
100%
tear you
correct.
down even before you actually start momentum and you start building yourself and getting experience. And so it's very hard if you're in the public eye to switch lanes.
To transition, exactly.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
so that's why I keep my mouth shut, like in the beginning. I always just, it's like when you share your work on social media, on a big platform where everyone can see it, you know.
And I mean, look at to be honest with you, it's come to a point sometimes where I actually want to take myself off social media.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I think I did it last week. It's like I came to this point where I was like, I started feeling like social media started having an effect on me that I didn't really like again. And I actually log out of all my things, out of Facebook, out of Instagram. There's this other application called Vero, which is non-algorithm based. I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, but it doesn't use algorithms to get likes. So it's more like-minded people, and you follow people that either does music, photography, acting, and it's very streamlined. And even on that as well, I would also then look at other people's work and I'm like, oh my word, I look at this person I'm following and they've got 300 likes, I'm sitting with 20. And once that starts creeping in again, I decided, let me take a back step. It didn't take me too long to get back on again, purely because I started producing work that I was happy with. So when I started producing work and like taking shots, and I take a lot of like seascape photography as well. Now I took this photo and I'm like, oh my word, I actually feel this is good enough. I love it. And I had to share it. If something makes you feel good, you have to share it with others, man. It's like become a rule of mine. And I went back on social media, I posted it, and immediately I got a positive comment back again. It's like that positive comment overweighed everything else that I was facing. So it looks like the one thing that becomes a negative aspect in our lives actually carries a lot of positivity as well.
Yeah.
But it depends on what you're looking at and how you're looking at that that platform. Or I mean, you can have 30 negative or mundane comments. You get the one comment that overshadows all the others as well. It depends on who you are and where you're at in your life.
I just think don't look at the comments, bro.
It's difficult because you look here. The thing is, we are inquisitive beings.
Yeah.
We want to see something.
It's hard.
Everybody's into this. So what's the next gossip story? What is the latest and greatest? Everybody wants to know. But with you being able to pull yourself back and say, I don't want to entertain it.
Yeah.
It's life lessons that got you to that point.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
Sure. No, for sure.
So I would hope that everyone gets to that point. I think where this world would be a better place, to be very honest with you.
Yeah. I look at it like this also now. Like, I don't care how many likes my posts get. Like, if one person sees that and it changes, I don't know, inspires them in some way or motivates them or changes their perspective on something, it's a fucking win.
Yeah.
It's a fucking win.
I think I'm at that place at the moment, although, like I said, it's sometimes a bit of this roller coaster ride. Majority of the time, it's more that feeling of this, I'm putting out this for someone out there. You don't necessarily need to know who for, but if it makes you feel good and it makes that person feel good, so be it.
Yeah, man. We should look at how we can help each other, you know? Because, like, we go through a lot of struggles and we think it's only our battle and nobody else understands me, nobody else, everyone's perfect.
Self-pity,
no, it's just me and my own bullshit that I'm going through.
Yeah.
But everyone's dealing with something. Everyone.
100% correct. You know that this whole thing of social media as well, and I mean, it's things that we know. But this whole thing of creating this world that you want everyone to believe that you're living in.
This highlight reel.
Yes, that's exactly what it is, and everyone knows that. But guess what? They still get affected
still.
negatively,
Still.
and you still desire what you see when it's not really the case.
Yeah.
And sometimes the people sharing this perfect lifestyle is the people that's dealing with the most emotion and difficulty and unhappiness. And again, part of what we do by putting our work out there is just, you know, showing a positive side to life and evoking good emotions. Like I said, that's all I'm about.
Yeah, man.
So,
So, how does music affect your photography or impact your photography?
so my taste in music is it's weird. I mean, it's vast. It's
What are we talking about here?
It's vast. I'm talking about from Beethoven to Neo to Kenny G. I'm a huge Kenny G fan, huge Celine Dion fan. It's amazing that because I listen to music quite a lot, I've even attempted writing music in the past.
Really?
We've got a very musically inclined family where my father played guitar. Actually, my name Earl comes from Earl Klue, who's a guitar player. My mother plays piano. I play certain instruments by ear. Haven't played in a while. And I had my own group at school as well.
Really?
So being in this whole musical lifestyle and influence, I'm always playing music in my head, singing music. If I'm driving, I'm playing music. If I'm at home, it's on YouTube. I'm listening to old school love songs. Lots of the pictures that I take now is evoked by that. It's becoming a cliche, especially in this conversation, but I can't make it any more real to say that even before I take a photo, and there's a certain song either playing in my head before or after taking a photo, certain songs come to me, and once I have that personal connection with that photo, that is the one. I can take 10 photos, but it takes that one photo that evokes that emotion for me to know that's the one that I actually need to share.
Wow.
So
do you listen to like a soundtrack before you go and like do gigs, or
I'm always listening to music. That's the thing. I'm
is
always
even
listening
even
to
at
music.
the wedding or the function or the
Always listening to music. Even before doing a wedding, I would put on my Peebo Bryson.
No way.
And yeah, listen here, I'm old school. I mean,
Peebo,
listen here, I'm old. I'm old. Listen here. when
It's kind of funny. I'm old.
No, I think
It's kind of funny.
I'm an old soul, to be honest with you. I do like quite a lot of like new music as well,
So
but
we're
I
talking
think it's
about-
short-lived. It's very short-lived. So if I like a beat, like especially with today's music, it's like, oh my word, it's a good song, you know. Listen to it a few times and it's like, you know, it's a done deal. Then I start listening to old school music and I can listen to it over and over and over again.
So we're talking Peebo, we're talking Luther,
We're talking Luther,
we're
we're talking...
Vanessa.
It's and you know, as much as I talk about like, you know, old school love songs and those things, you know that feeling you said where you think about things and it takes you back to that moment.
Yes.
Listening to those songs, those lyrics, it's a whole journey back into the past. It's not just a single moment of, oh my word, I remember that that day, or I remember that occasion. It actually, everything leading up to that point is like a journey, and I think the whole journey part of it is this is what makes life important to me and valuable as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, I listen up to Linkin Park at times, and I love music.
Dude, like last night, right? What I like doing, I like just making a fire and just chilling by the fire, because I love fire. It's so tranquil and it's just a vibe for me. So last night what I did was I made a fire and I played like music I'd never heard in a long time. I'm talking about like, but more rock on the rock side. So I was listening to like Avril Lavigne and Blink-182 and Soundgarden and who else was there? Linkin Park as well. I listened to Linkin Park, like their first album, and it took me back like to like high school, and it's such an amazing trip, right? Like I had goosebumps, and I made me want. And I remember all these friends, and I was like, yo, I actually want to text this friend now and see how they're doing.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I was such a crazy person about this song with this person, and I was like, wow, man, like just. Music is
amazing. It's very, very powerful. And like you said, that what I've started doing now is as well. I mean, I've started mixing a lot of my photos with music as well. Seeing that Instagram and Facebook has the ability to, you know, share a picture, but then attach a certain soundtrack or snippet of a soundtrack to it as well.
Yes.
And I've even seen how my likes in music with adding music to a photo has changed. It's sort of more that lounge instrumental type of music as well. And again, sharing a photo is basically me sharing that moment with someone and leaving the rest up to imagination. You know, I can see what it took for me to get to that, taking that photo, where I had to travel from taking that photo to get home, analyzing the photo. And when you add music to it, it's almost like you're trying to convey that in a nutshell. So like, you know, when I said I listen to music and I even play music in my head when I'm taking photos, you try to find that music and you try to add it to that picture and then share what you felt at the time with someone. It might not always achieve its goal, but the fact that technology and social media allows us to share our art with even more, you know,
In a
more
expressive
character and more expressive,
Yeah.
it's actually a good thing as well. As much as we try to see negativity in social media, there's a lot of positive as well.
Yeah, I think the worst thing is like you spend too much time on your phone and not living real life. Like there's this app, it comes with the phones these days. It's what do you call a screen time app? Where it
Yes,
tells you how
where
much
it tells
screen
you how
time
much
you
screen
have.
time, correct.
It's like, oh shit, did I do this? These numbers are ridiculous. I'm being hacked. This is bullshit. You know what I mean? Like,
No, it's
like,
true. It's very
yeah.
true. But the thing is, although we know it at times, we never end up using those tools when it's actually very much needed. So something has to push you to that point where you actually realize, oh my word, this is how long I've actually been spending on it. And especially for me with having kids, I'm trying to get them to the point of, I remember catching tadpoles, for example, with my brother at a pond,
Grasshoppers,
grasshoppers, doing things, you know. And
Playing
when I
cricket in the
see,
street.
yeah, when I see how my kids, you know, sit with their phones, with their PlayStations and stuff like that, it's like you try to create this balance, like, you know, and it's difficult because, you know, when we grew up and our parents used to tell us things, we would say, oh, no, that's, you know, those days,
Yeah.
that's in the olden times. Ironically, I'm at that point now where I'm having to tell my kids it's super important for you to spend time outside, get fresh air, learn a trade, a hobby, you know, do things with your hands. And it makes me realize how important it was for me to go through that and how life has changed and times have changed. And we're losing a lot of that. We're losing a lot of values and building skills as well. Like you said, if you're not doing something with your hands and applying your mind, what are you actually doing? So
I wonder like how many kids there are these days that actually have scrapes on their knees, you know, from running and falling outside in the street or, you know, like we used to grow up, even when we had, TV games, the
Correct.
consoles, the first Nintendos came out, like our mothers or parents still chase us outside, go play outside, you know, like
Correct.
I in the house. But I guess these days are different. It's not as safe as it used to be, I guess, and you're always concerned for your child's safety. You know, people get abducted, and you know you don't want your child to get hurt, and you know. So I think times have changed, but there needs to be some kind of balance.
There needs to be balance. And I mean, like when you were saying, you know, about the marks and stuff, those are battle scars.
Yeah, man, I still got marks today.
Exactly.
I paid my
you know,
dues.
even when my kids get hurt and stuff like that, you know, as you know, you try to be like this parent, like, you know, oh, you know, you'll get over it. Sometimes it's also good to actually say, you'll get over it, because it builds character. And as much as we are talking about our kids getting hurt, and I think a lot of it has also got to do with our kids getting hurt emotionally. Sometimes I have my kids coming to me saying, oh, a friend said this or that and whatever. If we don't get to the point where we actually say, you know, deal with it and move on, it's tough, and it's called tough love, you know. Love is not always a positive thing, or it won't always give you these goosebumps and happy feelings. But tough love is literally saying, like, you know, get up and move on.
Yeah.
If things get said about you, it's not true, realize that and move on.
Yeah.
If we don't do that and instill those values in our kids, my greatest fear is us getting old, our kids becoming who they are, but they don't have that resilience to actually say, I don't care about the negativity that people, you know, say about me and the things that they do. If we don't have those values, then we are failing in society, we're failing as parents. We can't be the society of, you know, everyone says this whole thing of self-love and self-pity, and
yeah,
it irritates me to my core.
Yeah.
Like seriously, it definitely does. Sympathetic as we need to be when it comes to certain things, we need to show tough love as well.
I think people are just too fucking soft these
I
days.
think so too.
I honestly think so. We be raising pussies out there. No
yeah.
disrespect, but that's just okay. It's slow recording. Okay, that's just how I feel. Like I see a lot of, like you say, I don't know, self-love and self-care, and that's all great and everything. But you know, a lot of people just give up too easily.
Way too easily.
You know, they run and want to cancel people for no reason.
Yeah.
Every word is sensitive these days.
But yeah, even the cancelling. I mean, I've seen people that, you know, you get offended and the person decides, I've had enough. I mean, I've seen it in society with the amount of divorces, for example. I mean, being a wedding photographer, when you find out, hey, those people are not together anymore, it's like, whoa, like, you know.
You obviously get the scoop because
there's a lot. Whoa. I mean, like,
Whoa.
it's not just the moment of I'm going to do a job and I'm going to move on. You, like, again, you get invested in that person. You might not speak for years, but all I can remember are those happy moments. And when you find out that people are divorced and they're not at a good space anymore, you think about all that hard work that was put into it,
Holy shit.
but how easily they decide to walk the other way just because of how they feel. And that whole thing again cliche, but that whole thing of not having the resilience to actually say, let's work on things and actually move on and get over it. You know, if you don't have that, then again, we are failing in society with building weak characters, each to their own. I can't speak for every situation, but it seems to be the norm.
Yeah, man. Like the word love, right? It's such a weighted word. It's not as much as that warm and fuzzy feeling you get, but it also means sacrifice. It means
That's like swearing.
eh?
The word saying sacrifice is like swearing.
Oh yeah.
Because it's all about who we are and what we want. And
It's discipline. Like the only there's this thing that I read, like the only time you start showing love for what you do or for the person or whatever, the moment you only start showing love is when you start making sacrifices for that. It's so true. Like, I mean, if you're not sacrificing, you're not compromising, if you're not sort of trying to learn or get to know the other person, if you just want it your way, you know, then obviously there's nothing you are gonna do to accommodate this person or accommodate this passion or accommodate this new interest that you have. I mean, like if I meet somebody new and I'm so crazy head over heels about this person and I'm always texting and on the phone, hey, you're so crazy, hey, I miss you so much, baby. Like that time I'm spending entertaining this new person in my life. Like, what was I spending it on before? Music or podcasts. So I'm making sacrifice. I'm sacrificing something for this person. Yes. So it's small things like that you don't think of. It's sacrifice. So yeah, love is a heavy word, bro.
It is, and you know, I always tell my boys as well. Like, I mean, again, most truths are said in jest, but I always say you have to live up to your surname, and it becomes an expectation when people actually hear, "Oh, is that your surname?" Now, I imagine I must be this horrible person, always negative, always bad mouthing people. They will automatically associate me with you, or you are not living up to your surname. But that is something that, you know. It's something that they would look at me in that way purely because that is my surname, when I think that should actually be an expectation from everybody.
That's true.
Everybody needs to show love. You don't need to be the soft, you know, the soft and fluffy kind of love. But love is just a matter, I mean, having respect is showing love.
Oh yeah.
Having affirmation for someone is showing love. Encouraging is showing love. And I think lots of people are scared to categorize things or their personality or their actions as love, because there's so many different ways that you can classify love as, when if we can all classify love as just being humble and treating someone the way you want to be treated.
It's that simple. It's that fucking simple. Treat others how you want to be treated.
Correct.
Done. Done. That's it. It's that fucking simple.
But it seems to be the toughest thing for most people, to be honest with you.
Yeah, man. I don't know why. I don't know why it's hard.
Yeah.
Nope. Like we said before, nobody's perfect, and we all have shit we're going through, and we might take it out on that person because in that moment we are just weaker than we were before, because we're vulnerable, because of maybe a loved one is going through someone and you feel for that person, or somebody in your close to your life is dying, and now you also have this asshole boss treating you cuck, and you have this person online who's giving you cuck, and maybe your dog is dying or your cat is dying, and now somebody comes along and says something.
Says the wrong thing.
That you might take it the wrong way, but it wasn't that person's intention maybe, and then boom, you just lash out. Okay, so your dogs, like you do dog competitions, is that correct?
So I mean, my brother's actually like the main character where the kennel is concerned, and I've sort of piggybacked off him, and we both have this passion because again, my father was also into dogs as well. Also, him and his brother were into Rottweilers and other dogs. So when we pursued this whole thing, or actually my brother pursued it, from supporting him, we actually started it together. And we started competing as well. I started becoming very involved in the community. And the whole point of dog breeding and competing is to produce the perfect Rottweiler. There will never be the perfect, but it's all got to do with structure. It's got to do with having the right temperament. So there's a lot that contributes to having the perfect dog.
So, I only see these dog competitions on TV. Do they have to run through a course, or like what does it entail?
I think there's different disciplines. There's like you get your IGP, which is sort of more like discipline and those things. And then you get your...
Like sit or...
Yeah, and like, stay and they'll shoot the gun, make sure they get no reaction out of the dog. Your dog needs to attack when you say they need to attack, and stop when you tell them to stop. So it's building that relationship with your dog and the dog knowing what's expected of them. Then the competitions that they mainly focus on here in like Cape Town and lots of other places is like ring work, where you basically show off the structure of your dog and the temperament of your dog. Lots of dogs come from like championship bloodlines, where I'll say 80 to 90% of those traits of the championship dogs should carry through to the rest of their lineage. And that's also a lot of hard work, lots of discipline as well. So there's this whole thing of having different passions and being able to give the right amount of time to all those disciplines and hobbies as well.
Heavy, man. How many dogs do you have?
So currently I have one. I had more. My brother has 4 or 5. And he stays around the corner from where I stay.
It's a lot of dogs.
Yeah, it's a lot of dogs. And to be honest with you, I think the difference with us and with having dogs is that we've got relationships with all our dogs, compared to lots of guys that just have dogs because they specifically ring dogs and they are there to produce puppies and other things.
There's a lot of money in dog breeding.
It's a lot of money. Oh my goodness. I think in every discipline, every sport, every hobby you get into, there's always another level. I've heard of people spending thousands on bikes, normal bikes that you do to oceans.
Yes.
I've heard of people spending thousands on fish rods.
10,000 for a decent bike.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I've heard of a bike going for like 20,000 with specific frame and tires and stuff. So when people hear what we spend on dogs, it doesn't make sense to them. But in the same way, I can say, you spending thousands on whatever doesn't make sense to me. So again, that whole thing, love, respecting the next person, it goes a long, long way.
Yeah, man.
So yeah.
How long have you been doing these dog competitions now?
We just got into it like prior to COVID, but we've always had dogs before that.
Okay.
So we literally grew up with dogs, but getting into the Rottweiler community is, I won't say fairly recent, but yeah, again, the one thing that keeps us glued and keeps us interested is the fact that we never stop learning. It's not only got to do with putting 2 dogs together, having puppies, and expecting a championship dog. It's got to do with looking at the bloodline. It's got to do with looking at genetics as well. It's never ever journey of learning is what keeps you going. There's a lot of mistakes that gets made, but you learn from those mistakes. If you put a female with a specific male, you're expecting a brilliant litter, you don't get it. You need to understand why it's not that way. You can take that same male, put it with a different female, and they can have the most amazing puppies. So again, it's all got to do with genetics, and it goes very, very deep.
Sure, man.
Super deep. But the loyalty factor for me, like my girl that I have, she's about 4 or 5 years old at the moment. Never bought her for competitions or anything. She comes from a good line. Same with my brother's dog as well. They were never bought for competitions or anything. Although they have those, like it is in their lineage. I think we got it right to produce a absolutely stunning pup about 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
If I say a stunning pup, it's actually an understatement. I built such a good relationship with him. I think day 2 after he was born, I saw there was something special in him as well. The relationship was so strong that, some people train their dogs, take them to classes and things like that to click with them, to get to know their doggies, for the dog to get to know they are. But I just had it with this pup of mine. I unfortunately lost him at like 9 months or 10 months. Protected him against every sickness out there, not knowing that there's another sickness called babesiosis, which is actually a tick-borne fever, which is carried through mice. So even in that thing, I think through the hardest, I took it very hard. A person would think that I would feel this way because I lost a human companion or a human being. I took it very hard. Oh my word, I would cry nights.
Shame,
He became my everything. If I came from work, I would come to him. We'd go everywhere. I would take him places I would never take any other dog. As much as I love his mother, I love this boy to bits. And it only takes someone who has gone through something like that to understand what I'm actually talking about. And even, in that as well, talking about dogs, I even used my passion of photography to capture dog competitions, to take photos of friends' dogs as well. So being able to, that transition of using one hobby for the next and so on, it was a joy. And it's something that I probably will still continue.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't think you can ever give up on your passions. As much as you try to, I try to run away from photography. I tried to run away from showing dogs and even breeding with dogs after I lost him as well. I didn't see the value in having to go through all of that again and trying to do, and there was no expectancy that when he was born that he was going to be this dog. Wasn't interested even in competing. He was the reason that I started digging deeper into things. And when I lost him, I just gave up. I was like, I'm taking a sabbatical. I don't care how long it is. But once you get over things and once you start realizing that there's more to life than harboring this hatred or this disappointment in life, again, what doesn't kill, makes you stronger.
Yeah.
So I will definitely be getting back into it again.
Yo, man, that's heavy.
Yeah.
That's heavy. What was your favorite breed of dog that you had?
I've had a lot of breeds, from lots of small dogs like Yorkies, Jack Russells. I've had pit bulls, but Rottweilers, it's the be all and end all of me.
No.
Rottweilers, I can never ever see myself with another breed.
What is it about them?
Loyalty.
No.
Wow, again, you hear lots of bad rap about dogs attacking owners, attacking children, and things like that. As much as it's got to do with temperament, it's got to do with how they're raised as well. But if you don't look at the genetic side of things and actually realize that down the line there was actually a very aggressive grandfather, or one of the females in the line was super aggressive, didn't have the motherly instinct. It's a recessive gene, it's hidden. And this is why people pay big bucks for dogs. If you don't get dogs with papers, you don't know what you're getting. It's a lucky packet dog that you're getting. So I would trust my life with a Rottweiler.
No.
I would trust my life. I would trust the lives of my boys with him. They've got such a super strong relationship, especially my younger son with my female. I have no qualms or no issues with leaving them together the entire day.
Wow.
None. She will probably give up her life for him.
Wow.
Actually, for any of us.
Wow. Yeah. I've got this friend who's, she also used to breed not anymore. But she used to breed Rottweilers as well. Beautiful dogs. And when she had a baby, right, like one of them would really like attach himself to her so much that when baby goes sleep in the room, he would sleep outside the room just to make sure baby's okay, and then stay outside
Yeah,
the
wow.
room. I was like, wow.
They become extremely territorial, and beware your soul if you jump over someone's yard that has a Rottweiler. I mean, most dogs have that in them, installed in them, but I just feel with a Rottweiler, the powerhouse that they are, they're extremely intimidating. If I leave my house, I have no worries that if someone jumped over or tried to befriend my dog, there's no way. And yet, in the same breath, if you were to walk into my house, my dog has never ever met you, and we had to stand and talk with each other, and I had to be in a good space with you. She would pick up on that, and she'd be fine with you.
Oh wow.
And I've done that many a time, so no one can tell me that it's, only certain people. I've done it over and over. I've spoken to neighbors that has never had any interaction with my dogs, and they would just stand there, be all calm, and even to a point, if I'm okay with you, she'd be okay with you. The puppy that I had, for example, her pup that I had, a massive, massive boy. His temperament was a little bit more territorial, especially being a male. He wouldn't easily let someone just come and, touch me, for example. But if we spoke and we spoke a while, he would pick up on that and he'd be absolutely fine. Anyone that would have been a threat to me, he would have made it known. Not by attacking them, but he would make it known, no further. So I've had lots of experiences with Rottweilers to say that it's the breed I'd never move on from. Never. Never.
I would like to get a dog, but I would like to get a dog who also can hike up with me up the mountain and,
It needs to be an agile dog. And again, you get so many different breeds, even with Rottweilers. I've heard of Rottweilers climbing mountains, doing, mountain work where they save people, police dogs.
Really?
One of the most famous police dogs that I know here in Cape Town, his name was Daddy, if I'm not mistaken. It was years ago. He was one of the most famous police dogs. Lots of people look at Malinois, Belgian Malinois, because they're extremely agile as well. So it depends on how you basically raise the dog. You don't want a bulky, sluggish dog.
Yeah, that's my one thing about getting a dog. Like Belgian Malinois are great,
But they drive a super high.
You need to spend time with the dog.
Yeah.
They need to run all day.
Correct.
You can't just come home from work and hey doggy. And,
No, then you might as well get a poodle.
you know what I mean? Like they want to work.
Yeah.
They love activities and stuff. So you got to be on it.
No, definitely. But like I said, for anyone wanting a specific dog, it's having to get a dog that suits your lifestyle. And sometimes it's not always the dog that you're very fond of, but you also have to be mindful that it's not about yourself, it's also about having that dog and a good environment for the dog as well. The dog becomes part of your family.
Yes, exactly.
So
It's a companion, like a real
exactly.
companion.
Yeah.
What's your favorite camera that you've ever used if somebody's listening and they want to get started, that you will say, this is it, start here, and what is your favorite?
This is the most boring answer you're going to find, but use what you have. To be honest with you, technology has become so good that even your cell phone can produce work that you never thought it could. I think once that bug bites, and like I've explained to lots of friends and family members as well, the minute you start getting into photography, I've always been a Canon boy. I've loved Canon. I've loved the economics of it. I've loved how it works as well. Very simple. I've never really looked into any other cameras other than the Fuji system as well. It's very sort of like reminiscent of the Canon system. But I would say use what you have. The other thing is go into camera stores. They have, demo models and things like that. Keep it in your hand, feel it, take a photo. If you know of someone that has a specific camera, ask them if they can, people are very holy over their cameras and they're very protective over the cameras. I mean, you can imagine so lots of money as well. But take photos with these devices to feel if this is what suits you as well. Buying one camera doesn't mean that's what you're going to stick with, and you're going to move on to other things as well. So currently now the Fuji system for me is an amazing system. I love the color science. I love the way it works, the way it feels. And although I've got this camera in now as well, which is the X100V, I do see myself getting a different camera as well.
Okay.
I definitely do, and it will be a Fuji as well. The X-T5 looks super amazing. Remember, these things are pricey as well.
Yeah.
So, but if I have to say, if you have to look at anything, get what you can afford.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you take a photo, if we both take photos, I have a Canon 350D, which is the first camera that I've got. Super simple. You have a mirrorless camera, the latest Canon R5 or whatever it is. If you take a photo and you share it, people are not going to look at what camera was this taken with unless you hashtag.
So true.
A photo is a photo. The other thing is everybody wants the latest and greatest, but like I told you, I've had a Canon 5D Mark III, 24-70 Mark II Pro photo lights. I'm sitting with a hybrid Fuji camera that I feel is producing much better work than the thousands that I've spent.
Wow.
So use the tool you have and get to know what it is capable of, what you are able to do with it, get to know what you want to capture. There's a lot of things to consider when you just, get into it as well.
And I think a lot of that comes in, like if you are experienced and you know the camera and you understand the mechanism and the system of it, you will be able to capture such a great photo. It doesn't matter the equipment that you're using, it's all about the person behind the camera.
100% correct. And not only that, this camera has so many more limitations compared to the camera I had. This has a lot of limitations. No one sees those limitations.
Wow.
They only see the photo that I post.
Only see the results.
They don't see me, like, again, having to run onto a field to take photos of birds because I can't zoom with that camera. They don't see me running and falling like midsection deep in water, trying to get a photo. They don't see me being pushed over by waves because I'm sitting with a camera that's limited by what it's able to do, yet I'm producing something that is pleasing to them.
Isn't it more fun that way?
It's way more fun. And so again, the thing of hiking at night or pitch dark, hiking up a hill, you know the risks, you know you can fall, you know you can get attacked, you know that there are wild animals or whatever. But the thing is, again, get to know your environment, get to know your tools, get to know what the end goal is as well. But also respect the environment that you're in, respect nature as well, respect the people that you're with, respect what you do.
Mr. Love, I appreciate you for coming on. I know this is your first podcast and you were very apprehensive at first.
I was, I'm not going to lie.
Saying that you
Oh, I'm not going to lie, I was. I overthought it, yeah.
What made you say yes at the end of the day?
Obviously, I mean, we don't speak very often, but I consider us good friends.
Yeah.
I appreciate and I admire what you do, and I know the feeling is mutual. I mean, you make it very clear as well. But I think I came to this point where I needed to just share what I do. Sharing is, putting my photos out there, but me putting a voice to my work, it made it a little bit deeper for me. There were a lot of times that, you've reached out to me. When you mentioned it to me, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then when I sat back, I'm like, shit, did I say the right thing? Do I actually want to do it? And I found a lot of reasons for me not to do it.
Yeah.
But I think it was a very good decision to actually put myself in a vulnerable situation. I didn't know the questions being asked. I didn't know the topics that we were going to speak about.
Yeah.
But you made it like super, super easy, and it was actually very enjoyable.
I'm glad that you enjoyed it, man.
No,
I'm glad
it
your
was
first one was a good one.
it was lots of fun, and I wish you all the best.
Thank
also
you, man.
moving
Thank you.
forward. You are well equipped. You are well versed. Very impressed.
I'm still new at this. This is very out of my comfort zone as well. I've never done anything like this before doing this. So thank you, man. I appreciate it.
No, you're doing very, very well. And I'm not just saying it, but literally from the heart, and seeing your setup, seeing how you've grown. I've watched you over social media as well. I've seen how you put your heart into your weightlifting, your music, your acting. it's an inspiration, definitely.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
No, pleasure,
That's
man.
very sweet of you. Where can people find you on social media? Where people can find you?
So,
your new range of photos, the new Earl
So,
love.
this is the thing. I don't want to let go of the surname. Obviously, it's my identity. It's
Of
who I
course,
am. I do want to stick with Earl Love. I sort of like dropped the photography side of things because that was my, wedding photography, portraiture and stuff like that. And I've dabbled around with different names and things like that. So I'm still in this journey of having to, put myself out there as, this person.
Yes.
But I've decided for now to just be Earl Love. So I'm on Instagram. I'm on obviously Facebook. On this app called Vero, Vero. And then I'm not very comfortable with what's the other thing? With
TikTok.
TikTok, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That for me, that is like, next generation things. You youngsters do what you want to do.
You youngins.
You youngins, exactly, I mean, I've got a lot of friends, like even with like, that's into the Rottweiler side of things. They've started using that platform. I think do you know this thing of being a photographer, being at the back of a camera? And this is probably going to answer something you just asked now as well, that I was very apprehensive to actually do this. I'm very comfortable being at the back of a camera, being behind the camera, producing. Definitely not comfortable with being in front of a camera. This is literally my first time doing this, other than a family member or my wife or my kids taking a photo of me, and even when they do that, I stand awkward. I'm like, okay, how do you do this? Yet I'm the person guiding other people on how to stand, always telling them feel comfortable. Here's another little nugget of knowledge or inspiration as well. Lots of people feel uncomfortable with standing or sitting in front of a camera, whether it be video or photo. We are critical beings, and the most critical we are is of ourselves or about ourselves. I know every mark in my face. I know my posture. I know how I seem uncomfortable. There's a lot of things that I see wrong with myself because when I wake up in the morning, I stand in front of a mirror. The first thing I see is how I look when I wake up in the morning. It's not the image I want to present to the world when I wake up. So we beautify ourselves, we make ourselves, presentable. We fix a lot of imperfections in our eyes. Yet if the next person looks at your image, they don't see what we see. They don't see our imperfections. They see more positive than negative. And for those people that see negative more than positive, they just have bad vibes. And I think they see more bad in themselves, which allows them to look at all the negatives in other people. But if I look at you, for example, I'm going to say, my word, you carry yourself well, you've built yourself up, you neat, I'll just look at all these positives. And this is just human nature. So we are very critical and very hard on ourselves. And as much as I tell the next person not to be, I'm that person.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I told this one girl, this model, we were doing a shoot, and she had to do this one scene where her hair was tied, and she never does shoots with her hair tied because she feels self-conscious about her ears.
Ears and those things, yeah.
And then she was like, oh my God, my ears. And I was like, you're the only person gonna notice that.
Exactly.
So don't worry about that. Like, people are gonna be like, oh my gosh, she's so cool, she's so beautiful. You know what I'm saying?
That's the thing. They put you on this pedestal that you actually throw yourself down from.
Exactly.
Not only that, I mean, I've always had this thing in photography where people expect me to show a better version of who they are. My thing is like, your family, the people in your circles, your friends, your colleagues, know you for who you are. The minute I start messing with an image and start removing certain things and changing things, they're going to look at it and notice the difference immediately. And they're going to say, this is either staged or it is manipulated. And I'm not about manipulation.
Yes.
What you see is what you get.
So you don't put anything on it, on the photo?
Even with my landscape photography, even with my taking photos of people as well, there are people that are very good at manipulating photos. I'm the type of photographer that will see something, that is how I capture it, that is what I want to convey. And if I do change something, it's only got to do with light. I will not change anything in my photo.
That's beautiful.
Listen here, you have to hone your skills. Otherwise, I could take photos of anything, manipulate it and put it out there. There's no appreciation.
You're not really a photographer then, you're more of an editor.
100% correct. So what you see when you look at my photos, that's what I see.
that's legit.
That is what I see. Yeah.
Beautiful, man. Give your social media handles.
Oh my goodness, I'm like the worst at this. I think it's because I don't share it. I literally don't share it. I mean, listen here, like you said, the whole word of mouth thing. I mean, I have not shared my social media handles purely for the fact that it hasn't always been about how many people can like me. It's about who appreciates my work. So I go by my name with all my things. Earl Love. I think there is only one Earl Love. I would hope so.
Okay.
But if you search Earl Love, there is a private Instagram page where I share a lot about what I'm into.
Okay.
Into a lot of things. I collect coins. I collect knives.
That's so dope.
I love those things. And then there is the photography side of things from the past when I started up till this very point as well. So, but yeah.
Okay, I'll find it and I'll put it at the bottom of the screen. People can see and people can check out your amazing work and check out your coin collection and your watch collection. I know you're into
I love watches. I love watches.
Yeah,
I'm obsessed with watches. Yeah. And again, all these things are things that my father was into. I only knew him to the age of 6, and I almost feel like I've become my father to a certain degree. We're just kind of weird.
Beautiful, man. But thank you so much once again.
Thank you again.
I wish you all the best. Whatever you decide, whether you decide not to get back into it, if you get back into it, whatever decision, whichever way you go, I appreciate you.
I think this might be part of, starting the flame of wanting to get back into things again. So because it makes me think about a lot of things. It's making me answer things that I probably never wanted to answer.
Oh, wow.
It's making me think about things in a different light. So thank you.
Here we go. You heard it here first, guys. It's back out here in the streets. But thank you so much.
That's a pleasure, man. Anytime.
Thank you, man.
Pleasure, dude.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you, man.
What you doing out in these streets, Leroy? What you doing out in these streets? What you doing out? What you doing out? What you doing out in these streets? What you doing out in these streets, Leroy? We in these streets.